Jamie.
But on the first day, Jamie Fisher gets the itch to go climbing.
Check it out, mate.
Their ski resort is at the foot of one of the greatest climbs in the French Alps, the north face of Les Trois.
Jamie, I know, but I'm supposed to be on holiday with my girlfriend.
You're not looking. It's the north face of Les Trois we're talking about, which we agreed we'd do, huh?
The north face of Les Trois is a treacherous climb. But it's exactly the kind of challenge Jamie Fisher relishes.
What do you reckon?
Jamie was really a true mountaineer. That was his big calling in life. He often seemed to think about nothing else.
So basically, we'll overnight at Le Grand Montet in order to get an early start in the morning. 3-hour brisk walk, we're at the foot of the face.
Okay.
Jamie Fisher is determined not to let this opportunity pass. But first, he has to persuade his best friend.
We got a week of this window. Perfect weather.
A week?
A week. There's no reason why we can't tick this off. You won't even know we're gone. We'll be back before you know it.
It would have been very nice to just spend the whole week on the slopes, skiing, snowboarding, having fun, just being with our friends. But both of us knew that we had something within us deeper that was driving us to do more.
You know, you're really going to get him into trouble one of these days, Jamie.
And? Cheers.
Cheers. Salut.
Le droit.
Le droit.
Once the decision was made, Jamie and I were set. We were going.
The two Jamies take the cable car to the top station, 10,000 feet up the mountain. They'll spend the night there to get a head start in the morning.
I certainly was getting very nervous about it by now. You know, even with all the experience I had under my belt, you know, you always get nervous before a big climb. And I always find I reach this stage in the night where I kind of wish that there's a big storm going to come in and I can call the whole thing off. I remember opening my eyes and seeing Jamie pacing about. He'd obviously not been able to sleep either, and he'd got up and was wandering about.
Come on, Sleeping Beauty. Time to go.
Just give me a minute, okay?
Come on, stop whinging. Get ready.
Okay, I'm up.
The next day, the two Jamies set off to begin their climb of Les Trois.
It was a long, hard trudge up the glacier. Jamie was much more up for it that morning, and I was feeling pretty ropey with the altitude and general nerves. And I could hear him singing to himself as he trudged through the snow.
Anyone ever told you got a really lovely singing voice, Jamie?
Yeah, they told me I got a beautiful voice.
He could sometimes be frustrating, but, you know, he was great company.
And as dusk falls on the first afternoon, the two friends find a ledge to rest up for the night.
Well, mate? Yeah.
You don't expect great luxury in these circumstances.
Huh?
You don't expect 3-star hotels, but we were pretty happy with that.
Your room will be ready in a sec, Mr. Andrews.
Oh, thank you very much.
You know, being able to get into our sleeping bags, to get lying down, to get a hot drink, that was good enough for us.
Good day, huh?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, we'll crack it for sure tomorrow.
Yeah.
We were both feeling elated. We were bang on target at that stage. We were exactly halfway, which was what we'd hoped.
As dawn breaks, the two men set off on the final ascent to the summit. A sheer vertical ice face, one of the toughest climbs in the Alps.
There's no ledges on the face where you can take a break. And so it is very tiring on your calves, your calf muscles. Essentially, you're standing on your tippy toes all day. By about lunchtime on that second day, we were feeling pretty confident at that stage. We were feeling that, you know, we were going to reach the top within a few hours.
They make great progress. But 800 feet from the summit, conditions suddenly change.
I don't like the look of those clouds, mate!
It had been perfectly clear the 1 minute. The next minute we looked up and there were these clouds rolling over the summit ridge of the mountain. We realised that this was a pretty serious storm that was coming in. It wasn't long before the snow started falling. It just became phenomenal. It very quickly became very, very heavy indeed.
In just a matter of minutes, the two climbers have been slammed by a vicious alpine blizzard.
But we weren't too worried at this stage. You don't expect to be able to climb a mountain face like that without encountering some bad weather.
But far from blowing over, the storm rapidly intensifies.
I've never experienced anything like it. It was just piling down onto our backs and rucksacks, you know, literally faster than we could shake it off. It was just incredible.
Then suddenly, the fresh snow triggers the thing climbers fear most. Mountain avalanches.
You just have to hold onto your ice axes as tightly as possible. Just close your eyes and hope for this avalanche to pass. It was horrendous climbing in those conditions. It was just really, really, really hard.
The two friends are now clinging to the side of the mountain, knowing every step could be their last.
It became a job of survival. There were great periods of time when we couldn't see each other. It was just impossible climbing in such horrendous conditions. So it was pretty tough.
They now face a life or death decision.
Jamie! Woo! This is something, huh? Yeah, but what do we do?
Abandoning their climb would mean descending the 3,000 feet of treacherous ice below them. In the raging blizzard, and with a broken ice axe, the two Jamies know that what began as an exciting adventure has turned into a potentially deadly climb.
I was beginning to think that we would never reach the top. It just seemed to be going on and on forever. But it was Jamie who suddenly let out this yell.
I'm found somewhere!
And I knew from his tone that this was it. He'd made it. He was at the top. Suddenly, both there we were on the top, on the summit ridge. And that was great. That was fantastic.
But as the night wears on, far from abating, the mountain blizzard intensifies.
It did start to enter our heads that we couldn't survive this indefinitely. And we started to think that maybe this storm's never going to pass.
By morning, there's still no let-up in the weather.
The storm, if anything, it only got worse. Because the snow is now accompanied by this powerful wind. That was bringing with it, much lower temperatures and much more unpleasant conditions.
This isn't good! What do we do?
Stay put!
What?
Wait for the storm to die down! We can't go anywhere in this!
It didn't take us long to decide that it would be lethal trying to head off down the mountain in those conditions. The same physically demanding situation as yesterday, but with very much more dangerous avalanche risk. So we were effectively trapped. I knew that Jamie wouldn't ask for that kind of help unless he really needed it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, good idea. Let's get to your bag, it's bigger, okay? Okay.
Jamie knows his best friend is desperate, and that he must get into his sleeping bag to keep him from freezing. But on the tiny ledge, every move is racked with danger.
Okay, I'm gonna get into your bivvy, all right?
So it was really awkward trying to wriggle into this tiny bag. Both of us were slipping about all over the place and losing perches. And then suddenly,
Jamie, I'm slipping! Jamie! Jamie!
I was sliding, and I couldn't stop myself. I tried to reach out to grab something. You're just falling in the blackness of the night. And my heart was in my mouth.
Jamie is saved by his climber's rope attached to his waist. But he's now left dangling above a 3,000-foot precipice.
Jamie!
Climb up!
Jesus Christ, help me, Jamie!
Calm down!
His friend can do nothing to help him.
You gotta climb the rope!
I can't do it!
You can! Keep calm! It's okay! You gotta climb up!
Jamie's only way out is to pull his own body weight back up the rope as the storm rages around him.
But the rope was cold and icy and really quite thin.
Exhausted from 3 days without food, water or sleep, every inch of the climb is torture. And halfway back up the rope,
And I remember plunging back down to where I'd started from.
Jamie!
I'm stuck, Jamie, I'm stuck!
Calm down! You just gotta climb the rope!
And so the next time, with a monumental effort, I pulled myself up this rope and landed myself with a great heave back onto the ledge. It was a big fright. But I guess I also realized that really all we had to do now was just stay where we were and survive. And eventually a rescue would be able to get us off there.
all they can do is try to keep each other warm in the -22-degree temperatures and pray that the storm passes.
We would spend the night just waiting for the first light of dawn, because it was only the dawn that could ever bring a hope.
But the next day, the blizzard just gets worse and worse.
As the morning came in and the storm carried on raging on, it became more and more depressing. The thought that this storm was never going to pass.
They've had nothing to drink or eat now for 72 hours. Both men are severely dehydrated. And in the Arctic conditions, Jamie Fisher is succumbing to the effects of hypothermia.
I know that we both must have had thoughts that maybe we wouldn't be making it down alive.
It's starting to break. Jamie, the weather's starting to break.
I looked out, and there, for the first time in days, we could see the mountain peaks on the other side of the valley. We heard that unmistakable thud, 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 thud. And straight away, they saw us. That was just an incredible moment. We were rescued. We were down in the valley. We were having hot baths and hot meals, and all that went through our heads.
But as the helicopter attempts to hover directly overhead, it's pushed back by fierce mountain winds.
Where are they gone?
We realised what the difficulty was. It couldn't hover anywhere near us because of the massive updrafts that blew up the mountain face.
Time after time, the helicopter is forced back. Finally, the pilot manages to get within yards of the stricken men.
We could literally see his face. It was really being thrown about all over the place like a toy.
Close now, come on!
At any moment, it looked like it might be dashed against the rocks on the ridge either side of where we were trapped.
But at the last moment, the pilot loses his battle with the wind and is forced to abandon the rescue.
Help!
I can't describe how gutted we were to be left there on the mountain on our own. It just felt even more lonely being there, having seen other people for the first time in days, and then just be left abandoned to our fate on the mountain again.
Thousands of feet up a mountain, without food, water, or shelter. All hope of rescue is now gone. But the brief drop in the wind allows them to light the stove to melt ice for water.
It was Jamie who suggested it. I thought he was crazy trying to actually get the stove burning on this ledge between us. And that was just unbelievable. Just the first time in 3 days that would have been that any liquid had passed our lips. To have some hot, sweet tea was just incredible. And that probably saved our lives that night.
But the pleasure is short-lived. The end of the gas means no more water, and they are still severely dehydrated.
It was incredible that we'd survived so far, but we did begin to lose that battle for survival.
Jamie Fisher is becoming delirious. Gripped by hypothermia, his organs are starting to shut down, and not enough blood is reaching his brain.
Come on, Jamie. You know where we are, Jamie. Tell me where we are.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Come on, Jamie. Come on, Jamie. Tell me where we are. Come on.
Sometime later, and I have no idea how much later, I opened my eyes again. And the first thing that I saw was rays of sunshine as they lit up all the mountain peaks all around me. Moments later, I heard that helicopter approach. And this time I knew that somehow they were going to rescue me. Somehow they were going to get me out of there. I was spinning 1,000 meters above the glacier in space in what was literally one of the most spectacular and daring rescues in the history of the Alps. I knew that I'd made it. I'd been rescued and I was going to live.
But the rescue had come too late for Jamie Fisher. His body was taken down from the mountain shortly afterwards. Jamie Andrew underwent surgery to save his life. Surgeons amputated his dead, frostbitten limbs, which were poisoning his blood.
They were very dark days indeed, those first few days after the accident. But on the other hand, I knew that this was to be the low point in my life, and now I could get on with the job of putting my life back together again.
For Jamie Andrew, years of reconstructive surgery and rehabilitation followed. But the memories of those 5 days on the ridge are never far away.
I had survived. I was a lucky one. And so I started to make up my mind that I was going to take on this challenge that had been thrown in front of me, and I was just going to treat it like the next big mountain that I had to climb. And so that's really what I've done, just taking it one step at a time. I have rebuilt my life.
Mount Everest, the highest place on Earth. It's the holy grail for mountaineers and a lifelong obsession for Australian climber Lincoln Hall.
My fascination with Everest began in the 1980s. I became so obsessed with climbing that I just kept going as far with it as I could. And that took me to Everest.
As dawn breaks, he reaches what's known to climbers as the second step. The biggest obstacle between Lincoln and his dream.
It was just all that joy of the technical part of climbing combined with the world's greatest mountain. mountains had started to take shape. We could see the ghostly shape of the summit pyramid. With the summit of Mount Everest within my grasp, the amount of effort I was going to have to put in didn't really matter, because I knew I did have that energy within me to get to the summit. Those last steps were really difficult, but I knew I would get there.
Lincoln has made it to the summit of Everest. He's on top of the world.
I could just feel this glow of excitement and of joy. It was just the most wonderful feeling. "25 years since I'd started thinking about Everest, and finally I was here. And just the immensity of the view, the distance that you could see, the curvature of the earth. It was just beautiful.
I was just walking past the communication tent when I heard his voice.
Lincoln, it's Mike, over.
I can't believe we're here.
It was fantastic because Lincoln deserved it more than anybody.
Finally.
He was perfectly calm. It sounded as though he was ringing from the office.
Thanks, guys.
Just remember, though, you're only halfway there, okay? We'll celebrate when you get back, over.
Somebody has to remind you that although it's a beautiful view, get down is the crucial thing, and get down quickly.
When you get to the summit, you're only halfway there. Reaching the summit isn't being a good mountaineer, it's coming back home every time.
Lincoln knows they must descend immediately from the death zone, as no one can survive at this altitude for long.
The death zone has earned its name because it's at a height where your body is literally dying. With the shortage of oxygen, it's very easy to let a little error slip past you, and that can lead to death.
Lincoln and his guides now face a grueling 3-hour descent to get back to the pre-summit camp.
That extra energy that you had from achieving your ambition, suddenly you don't have that ambition and you're just filled with tiredness. Suddenly, I just felt exhausted. Then I became overwhelmed with lethargy. And I passed out in the snow.
Suffering from a severe form of altitude sickness, oxygen starvation is causing blood vessels to leak fluid into Lincoln's brain.
I couldn't live in this oxygen-starved environment for very long at all.
If he doesn't get up and get down the mountain fast, he'll die. And Lincoln's mental state is getting worse.
I was in a trance. I was just incredibly confused.
Another Sherpa is at the second step.
And I wondered what he was doing there.
A climber that he was guiding to the summit has died just below them. Already confused, the news pushes Lincoln over the edge.
It was such a shock that I fell to pieces. It was me battling the Sherpas. I was really on the very edge. It's an 11,000-foot drop. That's where I wanted to jump. I was trying to jump off the face. I had gone delirious.
Dorje to base camp. Do you read me? Over.
His guide radios Lincoln's close friend, Mike Dillon, at base camp for help.
Put the radio to Lincoln's ear. I want to talk to him. Okay, Lincoln, mate, it's Mike.
Can you hear me? It's Mike.
We were his friends, we spoke his language. Even though his mind was obviously irrational, we thought that we might be able to help.
Lincoln, you got to get up.
Mike is Lincoln's only hope. The Sherpas can't carry him down. But staying with Lincoln at this altitude could kill them too. If Lincoln doesn't get up, he'll be left to die.
Lincoln, Mike, hear me? Get up.
Come on, mate, get up.
Suddenly I could hear an English voice.
You have to keep going, all right?
But it was Michael Dillon begging me to come down.
Lincoln, listen to me.
Come on, Lincoln.
Lincoln, you have to help the Sherpas.
To help you. Get up, mate. Come on, get up.
And that managed to get through to me, and suddenly
We're coming down.
I was back.
He's getting up now. He's getting up.
But now Lincoln must rappel down the treacherous second step. And this time, he's on his own.
And I needed to descend that using a rope, and there was a ladder. I started going down the rope.
Lincoln!
I managed to get halfway down. And then I started hearing voices. And suddenly, I became incredibly frightened. I just panicked. I was just incredibly scared. My immediate thought was that I'm going to die.
Lincoln loses consciousness again, suspended at 28,000 feet.
And then
Lincoln, listen to me. Your mind is not
Hey, Dylan. Happy birthday, mate.
I was hallucinating.
Change your way.
We knew that they'd run out of oxygen by now. We knew that meant all the effort of trying to get Lincoln to come down was exhausting everyone. It was probably the key factor that was going to kill Lincoln.
As the Sherpas desperately try to push Lincoln on, disaster strikes again.
I collapsed in exhaustion. I just had no energy. And I was able to move no further. I was actually felt quite pleased to lie there.
Lincoln, keep breathing. Breathe. Lincoln.
The Sherpas put their finger into Lincoln's eye and he didn't respond at all, so he was in a comatose state. We knew that Lincoln wouldn't live because if you've got cerebral edema, you've been without oxygen and you're that high on Everest, no one has survived.
The Sherpas say a prayer and collect Lincoln's belongings to return to his family. Lincoln Hall is left for dead. Three hours after being left to die, Lincoln emerges from his comatose state.
I felt completely disoriented. I was exhausted, dehydrated. I'd been left for dead, and I was still there. I was still alive. I very carefully looked for my pack, which had some really useful things like a warm thermos and a headlamp and some extra clothing.
But the pack has gone. Lincoln's guides have taken all of his gear to return to his loved ones.
My immediate thought was that I'm going to die. Having been left for dead with no shelter and no oxygen, how could I possibly survive up here?
As the night wears on, the temperature plummets to minus 25 degrees.
It was so cold. There was a wind swirling around like a hurricane.
Exposed near the summit, Lincoln is now at serious risk of hypothermia. If he falls asleep, he will drift back into a coma and quickly freeze to death.
Staying alive meant staying awake. I kept telling myself, just stay awake, just stay awake. My mind was ready just to drift off into nothingness, into the warmth of imminent hypothermia. But I just couldn't let that happen. So I rocked my body in a sort of circular motion.
As the hours go by and the temperature drops further, Lincoln doubts he'll make it through the night.
My family's back home, and there's this aura of death. I had an hallucination where I was wearing a really warm and comforting cloak. But that cloak was the warmth and the welcoming of my imminent death. And I thought, well, this is when I'm actually going to die. And then I had horrible, horrible recognition of the fact that I would not ever see my family again. I could not accept that. Because if I died, my family would be destroyed. Love was the overriding emotion. I couldn't wear the cloak of death. I had to find a way out. I had to come back to my family.
Incredibly, he's still alive. But alone, near the summit of Mount Everest, he's barely clinging on to life.
The earth was beneath my feet, and I thought, that can't be right. That can't possibly be right. This huge mountain can't be moving. Therefore, I must be on a boat. I was so contained in that bizarre world of hallucinations and loneliness and cold and death. I didn't know where I was. I knew someone was there. It was all very confusing because I'd been living in a very intense world of being alone and coping with that, and suddenly there were other people who'd come from somewhere.
Leading one of the very last climbing parties of the season, Everest guide Dan Mazur has found Lincoln by chance.
That was actually the last day that there was anyone else on the mountain. Those 4 final climbers would have been expecting to step over my dead body.
And as another night falls, Lincoln's progress is painfully slow. The Sherpas know that their lives are now on the line.
I was saying we have to go more slowly.
Move! Go!
And they were saying, no, you have to go fast.
They push Lincoln hard.
Keep going!
They were prepared to do anything to get me off the mountain.
I said go!
I could tell from the tone of their voices that they were tired and exhausted and they didn't want to be there.
Move!
And the only thing I could do was just to hold on to my commitment to find a way through this.
Get up!
I just had to be able to keep walking to stay alive. But I was going to do it. I was going to get back so I could get home.
We're close, Lincoln. We're close.
I came around a slight crest in the slope. And I thought, this is it. going to survive. It was just a flood of relief. But I didn't have any energy left for jubilation.
Hello? Lincoln?
Lincoln's voice was so hoarse, I couldn't believe it was him.
It's okay.
She knew it was me. And that was just the most wonderful moment.
It's okay, baby. I'm okay, I'm fine. I love you too.
I came so close to destroying the family that I loved so much that I vowed that I would never let anything like this ever happen again.
At great personal risk, the Sherpas saved Lincoln's life.
I really wanted them to know that they'd saved my life and that I would be forever grateful.
Lincoln recovered, but lost the tips of his fingers and a toe to frostbite. He still rock climbs, but has no plans to attempt any more major peaks. Doctors have yet to understand how he survived so long, with so little oxygen and without shelter, in Everest's death zone.
Ain't that a sight?
Best friends and mountaineering partners, Jim Davidson and Mike Price, are fulfilling a dream. To climb Mount Rainier, one of the highest mountains in the US.
It's gonna be a crazy, mad day. You ready?
Let's do it, Jim.
Let's do it, bro.
The two men have been climbing together for 4 years.
I first met Mike in 1986. We were both going to Colorado State University. We had a like mind and a similar love for the mountains.
As Jim and Mike have scaled mountains all over the US, their friendship has grown deeper.
Mike had a great deal of mountaineering experience. I looked up to him as a better climber than I, more experienced.
But Mount Rainier will put their climbing partnership to the ultimate test. As they plan to scale the fearsome Liberty Ridge.
I think what excited both of us was it was going to be a step up in our friendship and our partnership.
On the third morning of their trek, they're ready for the final leg of their trip, up to the 14,000-foot summit.
Climbing fosters very intense relationships. We experience the difficulties, we experience the rewards, and you're sharing it with one person who you like and whom you trust a great deal.
For Jim, this is his toughest climbing challenge yet. But being attached to his far more experienced friend, Mike, means he's in safe hands.
You okay, Jim?
Oh, man. This is tough.
Just check your balance a little.
I would look at the climb and go, wow, I don't know if I can do this. It looks a little steep, a little scary.
I can't do it, bro.
Just come over a little.
And Mike would gently push me forward.
You're doing good.
I thought, well, if Mike thinks I can do it, then I probably can.
Mike's expert leadership means that their final push to the summit goes without a hitch.
Woo! Just as I pulled myself onto the ice cap, Mike was sitting down with a big grin on it.
Welcome to Liberty Cap.
I don't want you thinking about a nice cool beer. Hey, lay off.
But Jim and Mike are also aware that they must stay alert. They know that hidden just under the snow The landscape is a minefield of cracks and gullies, the worst of which are huge crevasses.
All of the glaciers on Rainier have crevasses. These big cracks in the ice. Sometimes they're open and you can see them, and sometimes they're hidden over with snow.
And as the hours pass, the risk of crevasses increases.
The sun softens the snow, weakens the ice. That can make the route itself more likely to collapse.
But Jim knows that being attached to his friend by a rope means that if he does fall, Mike will dig in and use his body weight to save him.
They're literally holding your life in their hands.
All right. It's a little deeper here, okay?
And that creates a very intense bond and a very intense friendship.
It's been a close call, and Jim now realizes that real danger is lurking all around them.
I probed the ground in front of me, and it felt solid.
Take it easy now, Jim.
Yeah, we're good.
And I stepped forward and sank up to my ankle in the snow.
Whoa!
And I probed a second step, and my ice axe felt solid, so I stepped forward.
No, we're good.
My face smashed up against the snow. And I realized I wasn't going to be able to stop myself. I yelled, "Falling!" I swung my arms and legs around in the darkness. And I realized this is a big crevasse.
If Mike can't get a grip in the slushy snow, then nothing can stop them both plunging to their deaths.
It seemed to progress very slowly. I had time to think about what was happening and what might happen and how we were going to land. It was just absolute sheer terror. I was tied to Mike, so I thought in another second or so the rope will get tight and catch me.
As Jim speeds downwards, he knows Mike only has a few feet left to dig in and break his fall.
I thought 10 feet, 20 feet, 40 feet. Mike should have caught me by now. And I put my hand out, and I could hear how fast I was moving by the high, screaming pitch of the nylon glove dragging on the wall in the darkness. And when I swished around, it felt kind of empty, and I realized that my wrist loop had slipped off my hand. My ice axe gone now. There's no way I can stop myself. Then my brain told me that I'd fallen 50 feet. I thought, no, that can't be right. If I'm in 50 feet, and there's 50 feet of rope between me and Mike, that means he's right at the lip of the crevasse. And I'm going so fast now, he's gonna have a heck of a time catching me. And I thought, come on, Mike, dig in, dig in. Because I knew that he was getting close to the edge. I felt the rope jerk once and then go slack. And at first I was confused. I didn't know what that meant. I was stunned for a second or two.
Jim is completely trapped and is unable to move.
I could feel the weight pushing down on my body. I can't believe it. I survived that fall, and now I'm buried alive.
He has only a tiny pocket of air around him. and will suffocate in minutes.
You really can't control the fear. It just surges up. I couldn't see that I was going to be able to get out of the snow. I was probably felt truly helpless at that point. Now I just have to sit here and wait for the end of my life when my oxygen runs out.
In desperation, he summons every last atom of strength to try and find a way out.
I try to focus all my mental power and physical power in just my right hand. I pushed with all my strength just on one spot, just pushing my right arm up.
Jim has survived, but there's no sign of Mike.
Mike! Say something, buddy!
And I heard his breathing get more labored and more labored.
Mike, answer me, buddy!
I started digging at the snow faster.
Say something, buddy!
I heard Mike exhale once, and then he didn't inhale. And I thought, no. It can't be that he's not breathing. I must have just missed the sound of him inhaling and exhaling.
Mikey, stay with me, buddy. Mikey! Mikey!
I couldn't quite believe what was in front of me, but I had to accept the reality. I had to accept that he wasn't breathing, and I had to do something about it.
Stay with me, buddy! Mike!
I didn't get any response. I could just feel this surge of fear boiling up inside me. I did one more check of pulse in his wrist and his neck and looked for breathing signs, and I saw none.
No. Come on, buddy, wake up. We're getting out of here. Come on, Mike! God damn you!
My hands started to shake and my upper body started to shake and the emotions started creeping up on me.
After 4 years and hundreds of hours climbing together, Jim has just lost his closest friend.
I just slumped my head against his chest and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes that my friend was gone.
Jim is alone, trapped 80 feet down a colossal crevasse. And without his climbing partner, his chances of escape have gone.
Now, I didn't know what that meant. I was afraid that I had some severe internal injury.
But one of his ice axes has been lost in the fall. If he doesn't find it, he'll never make it out. As he searches around, Jim makes a terrifying discovery. He and Mike have landed on a fragile snow bridge, likely to collapse at any minute.
We weren't on the bottom of the crevasse. We were stuck partway down the crevasse.
But 10 feet below him, Jim spots something. The missing ice axe. he knows he's faced with an horrendous choice.
I'm not going deeper in this crevasse, where it's tighter, more dangerous, scary. If I go down there, I might not be able to come back up. I thought, there's no way I'm going down there. But when I thought about it, there was no other answer. I realized if I wanted any hope of climbing up, I had to go down there first. It took a lot of willpower to back over that edge and lower myself deeper into that crevasse.
A single mistake, the ice axe will be lost, and there'll be no way back for Jim.
Felt like I'd turned the tide a little bit, that now I was taking some action. I'm starting to fight back, perhaps.
But after climbing just 20 feet, Jim's adrenaline levels are falling. Each step harder than the last.
I hadn't eaten anything or drank anything in many, many hours now. And Mike and I were both exhausted from the 3.5 days of alpine climbing before the crevasse accident happened.
Weak and exhausted, Jim senses hope draining away.
I heard this little voice that, keep going. I could see him in my mind's eye just saying, you can do this.
Check your balance a little.
I felt that he was still sort of remotely coaching me, if you will.
You're doing good.
And, it wasn't goodbye yet. We were still in this together.
Doing real good there, man.
Jim has to constantly climb back down to retrieve his ice screws, costing him precious time and energy. After 65 feet and hours of hell, Jim's made it to the overhang. It's the only thing standing between him and the lip of the crevasse.
I knew I was close.
But to get past it and get out alive, he must risk everything.
Now I had a severe problem. I couldn't reach past the lip.
I can't do it, bro. Just come over a little.
And I thought, I have to do it. I've got no choice.
Jim's only option is to try to haul himself over the edge of the overhang. If he makes one single mistake, he'll fall to his death.
I thought, I've made it. I've secured myself to the upper screw. And I took my ice axe off the lower screw so that I could hang onto it. I realized I had just made a huge error.
Jim has broken a climber's golden rule. He's attached himself to his chest instead of his waist.
The chest harness cinched down around my chest and squeezed the breath out of me. And some voice in my head was just screaming at me saying, it's all over. You're gonna die hanging from this ice screw. I was gasping for breaths. I would get one occasionally when I would get one ice tool in the wall. I could get a little weight off and I would get 2 breaths and then I would slip and slump back onto the sling and it would squeeze me tight again. I had to get off that ice screw.
Unless he can find one last surge of energy, Jim knows he has just seconds left to live.
And when I looked back down at our ledge, some 60 feet below me now, I realized that I was really out there on the extreme edge of what I thought climbing could even be.
Finally, having achieved what seemed impossible just a matter of hours ago, Jim knows he has only 20 feet to the top and escape.
But I was so utterly exhausted from everything I'd done, I questioned if I was going to be able to have the strength to make that final run to the surface.
After more than 5 hours and 80 grueling feet, Jim reaches the surface. But unless he can get a firm grip on the treacherously thin snow, he could easily slide back into the crevasse.
I can't believe at the very last second I'm going to fall backwards, all the way back down to where I came from. I can't believe it's going to end like this. And this emotional voice in my mind was like screaming, do something. And this voice was pretty confident, said, just lunge. I looked back where I had last seen Mike just before the fall, and I could see where he was standing, and there was a very sharp groove in the snow that proved to me that Mike had dug in as hard as he could to catch my fall. And then I untied from the rope.
By finally untying the rope that connects him to Mike, Jim knows that he has fulfilled his duty to his best friend. And Mike's family will be able to take his body home.
All that emotion that had been trapped down inside me for over 5 hours just gushed out. And I just said out loud once, I'm alive.
Jim's cries for help are finally heard, by 2 park rangers and some volunteers.
That's when I knew that I had been seen.
I'm up here!
And that help was on its way.
Mike Price's body was recovered the following day. And, thanks to him, Jim survived with only minor injuries. But before returning home to his wife, he had one last thing he had to do.
The last day when Mike and I were climbing together, we talked about coming off the mountain, maybe having a big steak and buying a couple beers. So I went into the bar. And I ordered 2 beers. One for me, one for Mike.
Thanks.
And I sat there and drank them both.
Since the accident, Jim's never lost his love of the mountains. He now teaches new climbers to respect the power of nature. And each year, on June the 21st, Jim makes a special climb to celebrate the life and times he and his friend spent in the mountains.